to week 3 of our series, Miracles, the Marvels of Jesus. Who is your favorite MCU superhero? I'd have to say that mine is Iron Man. He's brash, he's real, he's cocky, and he can back it up. But I think, and that part is entertaining, but I think what I like the most about his character is that he begins as selfish and he ends as a true hero. What makes a superhero a superhero? Well, obviously they have superpowers. They can do things that normal people can't do. They save people. They do miraculous acts. They have a hidden identity. So what do you think? Is Jesus a superhero? I mean, he does have superpowers. He does miracles and amazing wonders, and he does save people. He doesn't have a secret identity. Everyone always knows who he is. I guess Tony Stark didn't really have a secret identity either. Maybe that's another reason why I like him. I don't know. So last week we looked at Jesus feeding 5,000 plus people with just 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. He supplied their needs, plus they had leftovers. He gave them more than what they needed, and his disciples witnessed and got to participate in this amazing miracle. So as a result, the Jews want him to be their king. And Jesus, he perceives this. You know, he is God, he's all-knowing, and he knows their hearts and that they're gonna be like, we wanna make this guy our king. Because of course they want a king who's got superpowers. So he leaves by himself and he goes somewhere to pray. And what do you think he prayed for? Was he thanking God for this miracle he just did? Do you think he was putting in a request for a new miracle? Or maybe he's just talking to his dad? Let's pick up in Matthew chapter 14, verses 22 through 36. Immediately after this, Jesus insisted that his disciples get back into the boat and cross to the other side of the lake while he sent the people home. After sending them home, he went up into the hills by himself to pray. Night fell while he was there alone. Meanwhile, the disciples were in trouble far away from land, for a strong wind had risen and they were fighting heavy waves. About 3 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came toward them walking on the water. When the disciples saw him walking on the water, they were terrified. In their fear, they cried out, "It's a ghost!" But Jesus spoke to them at once. "Don't be afraid," he said. "Take courage. I am here." Then Peter called to him, "Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come to you walking on the water." "Yes, come," Jesus said. So Peter went over the side of the boat and walked on the water toward Jesus. But when he saw the strong wind and the waves, he was terrified and began to sink. "Save me, Lord," he shouted. Immediately Jesus reached out and grabbed him. "You have so little faith," Jesus said. "Why did you doubt?" When they climbed back into the boat, the wind stopped. Then the disciples worshipped him. "You really are the Son of God," they exclaimed. After they had crossed the lake, they landed at Gennesaret. When the people recognized Jesus, the news of his arrival spread quickly throughout the whole area, and soon people were bringing all their sick to be healed. They begged him to let the sick touch at least the fringe of his robe, and all who touched him were healed. So this miracle is amazing. This is one of the things that people talk the most about Jesus, is that he walked on water. There's even a phrase that says, if you think you're perfect, try walking on water. This was a sign that Jesus was unlike anybody else. So other than it being just this amazing miracle, what can we learn from this? Well, the first one is that following our own plan leads us away from Jesus. Why did the disciples leave Jesus? He was there praying, they were supposed to wait for him, and they got tired of waiting. Did they have such busy schedules that they're like, well,
we got appointments to keep. We can't be waiting for Jesus forever.
Sometimes we get tired of waiting on God to do something. But we have to understand that God's timing is better than ours. That he will always do something at the right time, at the right moment. Think about it. They had just seen an amazing miracle. What if he performed another miracle after they left? Like, they would have missed out on that. When we try to rush to do our own plan, when we try to make a plan that's different than God's, we can miss out on what God wants to do in our lives. This is the crazy part. Because just like the disciples, we can see Jesus working in our lives. We can see him do amazing things. And yet, we will still choose to do our own thing apart from him. We'll still say, I'm going to do my plan. I'm going to follow my way. Why do we do this? I think that it's selfishness. It's pride. It's arrogance. It's us thinking that we know better, that God's not going to do it the way we want, and our plan is better. And I don't think we often think that, but our actions prove that that's what we actually believe. In the movie Captain America Civil War, Iron Man and Cap fight each other because each of them wants to pursue their own agenda. By the way, it was Cap's fault. Come on, after Ultron and after Sokovia, and the whole city is just floating off the ground, and Iron Man knew that they needed to have someone watching over them. They needed some government oversight because they were just going to go out of control with all... Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry, I just get a little heated. It is Cap's fault. I mean, we know that. But them pursuing their own agendas away from each other, away from what was best for the group, for the Avengers, split them apart and causes this civil war. We want to be careful with all of the things that can distract us, that can pull us away from Jesus. And sometimes it's not even bad things. We live in this ADD world, right? I know, I'm part of it. We are captivated by something, by someone, until the newness wears off and something else flashy appears and it takes our attention. I'm so excited to get a new video game, and then I get it and I play it for a while, and then the newness wears off, and then another new game comes out, and then I want to move on to that. Or maybe it's anything that's pulling you away from Jesus. I want to encourage you, don't let the newness and excitement that Jesus brings into our lives, don't let that wear off. We need to look for ways to maintain freshness in our relationship with Jesus. The second point, it's hard to see Jesus when we're in the midst of a struggle. The disciples were battling a storm that night, like a real legitimate storm. Waves are coming down. Now, they've been through this before. They were with Jesus, and do you remember what Jesus did? He spoke to the waves and the wind and the water, and he told it to stop, and it stopped. Like, they've been through this. And here they are in the middle of the storm, and life is falling apart for them. And Jesus is there coming toward them, but the storm made it difficult for them to see and to navigate. Sometimes the storms in our life make it difficult to see and navigate through life. Jesus was coming toward them, but they didn't know it was him. And they let their circumstance and they let fear prevent them from seeing Jesus. You can't pick your storm, but you can pick your Savior. I hope you realize that we all face storms in life. We will always face difficult times. We can't control that, but we can control who we put our trust in. The problem the disciples had consumed and blocked their vision. Their focus was diverted by fear and anxiety. James chapter 1 verses 2 and 4 says, "Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way," he doesn't say if, when they come, "consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So, let it grow, for when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing." The third one is Jesus will reveal himself to us clearly. Jesus pursued the disciples even out in the middle of the water, even during the middle of a storm. Okay, look, since I talked some smack about Captain America earlier, I'm going to say something good about him. He has been pursuing Peggy Carter since 1945. And then remember, he disappears and he lost out on that. Spoiler alert. I'm just giving you a heads up here. Spoiler alert. In 2023, they figure out time travel, and he goes back to the 40s to marry Peggy and grow old with her. Dude chased her across time and space for almost 80 years. Have you ever pursued a person or a thing or a goal for a long time? What does it feel like to do that? What feelings do you have going through you as you're trying to pursue this person or this goal? Have you ever had someone pursue you? Have you ever had someone say, "You are the person I've been looking for this part or for this project"? How does it make you feel to know that Jesus is pursuing you? Throughout the difficulties in life, he is continuing to pursue you. Throughout your sin and your turning your back on him, he is continuing to pursue you. How does that make you feel? I hope it makes you feel awesome. Jesus pursues us. That's amazing. That's amazing. Next point is, we are our own obstruction to seeing Jesus. The disciples' fear nearly prevented them from seeing Jesus. Our fears can prevent us from encountering Jesus too. Our fear of what we might have to do or have to stop doing. Our fear of what other people might think of us. Our fear of our inability to live out a Christ-centered life. We're going, how will I keep up with all these rules? How will I actually act like Jesus? Fear is a crippling emotion, and it can stop us from experiencing something really great. Maybe ask yourself, why is fear so difficult to shake? What are the things you're afraid of right now? Bruce Banner, the Hulk, faces a lot of fear. For a while, he feared changing into the Hulk. He didn't like who it made him become, and he didn't like the destruction that he caused. And then later in Infinity War, Hulk fears losing to Thanos again, and he refuses to fight. It paralyzes him. Our fifth point is, in our weakness is where Jesus is strongest. Peter actually walks out on the water to Jesus. Like, that's amazing. He takes this risk and he trusts Jesus and experiences something out of this world. But what ultimately made Peter sink? It was that he doubted that he could do what Jesus did. He doubted that he wanted to be like Jesus. He's like, man, I want to be like Jesus. Call me out there, Jesus. I want to do what you do. And then in the middle of it, he starts noticing all of the trouble around him, and he loses faith in what Jesus can do through him. In the movie Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Miles asks, when do I know I'm Spider-Man? I said, you won't. That's all it is, Miles. A leap of faith. He had to trust that he had these powers for a reason and that he could change the world. And by taking that leap of faith, by just doing it, he was able to impact so many lives. Peter looked to Jesus when his faith was lacking. When he was sinking, he didn't look back toward the boat. He cried out to Jesus and asked Jesus to save him. So I ask you, who or what do you look to when things start going wrong in your life? When you're facing storms, when you're facing trouble, who do you turn to? You need to maintain your faith in Jesus in those difficult moments. He won't abandon you. Stepping out in faith doesn't ensure that it's going to be a calm situation. There will still be rough time, but Jesus promises he will never leave us. He will never abandon us, and he will help us through those difficult times. The sixth point is Jesus is our great healing. Now, we get to the end and there's these bonus miracles at the end of this passage. People are coming out and they're being healed by Jesus just by touching the end of his clothes. Jesus is just oozing grace and forgiveness and love and healing. When Jesus enters our life, we are changed. We are made brand new. And as we grow closer to Jesus, we should, like him, ooze grace and forgiveness and love and healing. Maybe not physical healing, but people should be healed in their spirit by being near us. It's not us. It is the power of God in us, transforming lives everywhere we go. You guys, I want to encourage you to put your trust in Jesus. Let him do amazing miracles through your life. I love you. We'll see you next week.